Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we are back to Hearthstone. We have one more quest to play warrior class cards, and sadly it really is better to play the weapon class than either the taunt or the enrage class. This in particular is one of the reasons why I'm gonna have to reconsider building decks next expansion. I just don't think it's gonna work that well to have a taunt and enrage class, but then have the taunts full of mostly general taunt cards and the enrage cards filled with mostly general enrage cards. The warrior by itself, the only thing he has special is weapons. I went on a bit of a rant last time. I'm trying not to do that. Although, that being said, I've got at least two things here to rant about, so I don't know how I'm going to avoid this. Like, I literally have three things to talk about, maybe four, and then a bunch of rant things. I need to play warrior cards, so playing the Curseblade, then the Curseblade, then something else would work. Let's just start with this. Twitch responded to Yandere Simulator's developers public whining about being banned, and they finally gave him a response, and let's see if we can explain this. Part of the note gave an explanation that is sort of BS. It's like they're saying effectively, like all companies when they have any of these community stand lines, that they just pick and choose and enforce it however they feel like it, which is true for all companies. But they were saying we ban specific users of Twitch, streamers on Twitch, for doing certain things, but we don't list the certain things that you can get banned with, or the specific thing that they were banned with, so they can't, because we don't want them to come back and say, well, I didn't do that, or how come you banned me and you didn't ban this other person. Making the same whines and complaints that Yandere Dev, as he calls himself, was making in the first place. And they're saying we don't give out any information when we ban somebody. Therefore, because we don't give out any information when we ban an individual streamer, we aren't going to give out any. We didn't want to give out any information about why we banned your game, which is BS. Total, complete BS. You've played a semantics game there, just to make it seem like you're saying something more than we just didn't want to tell you, because that's what the entire first paragraph really boiled down to. We didn't want to tell you why we banned you because we don't really have a legitimate reason why we banned you. But then in the next category, they list their reasons for the ban, and everything they list, Yandere Simulator has. A game set in the school that focuses around killing children. I see the understanding there with people's oversensitivity, in my opinion, with school shootings and school violence, which frankly I just think they need to get over. I think people need to get over. We'll hold on to everything for now. But yes, that's true. And you're not going to change Yandere Simulator from that. Otherwise, it's a completely different game. the fact that there was nudity in a few parts of children, or animated children, not real children, but that too was in an Easter egg, and it was, it did actually, and there's, I think, partial nudity with Steam covering up the good bits in when you're in the locker room changing, but so that's true. The fact that you can kidnap, torture, and kill children in general, these are features that I think in part were added after the fact of the ban, but I mean, he certainly isn't helping his case any at all to make the game even more objectionable to play. The fact that you're making it even more objectionable, and the fact that you could take panty shots of other girls and sell it as a currency in the game. They had a problem with that too. And the Yandere Devil is like, true, that's all in my game, but you should still let me on. And I'm like, well, no, look, they just told you 4 reasons that they've got a stick up their butt. I mean, that's really all it is. And you could have just realized that in the first place instead of whining, and that's all it is. And the reason he's whining is, in my opinion, disingenuous, because he made this game, or he hasn't really made this game. He started making this game specifically to be provocative. 100%. There's no other reason you would make a game like this but to be provocative. And now he's acting like a victim when he knew he was going to provoke the sensitivities of at least a few people. And a few of those people might be the 2 services in the West that you can stream video games on, Twitch and YouTube. And Yandere Simulator is, unless you put some mods or do something, is still showing pretty well every now and then on YouTube. So he knew he was going to be provocative. He knew this was going to eventually happen, and pretending like he didn't know, or like it came as some huge surprise is ridiculous. And if he didn't know, as is often the case when you make the argument he knew, the second sentence is always, if he didn't know, it just shows him to be a fool. Like, I certainly am a hugely, well, this is me virtually singling at this point, but I consider myself a pretty open-minded person. But I never want to get to a point where I believe everybody else is like me. Because I would be so completely wrong if I believed that. I think that's the problem of people both on the right and the left in the United States, is they often can convince themselves and surround themselves with a bunch of yes people and people around them that are just like them, that they think everybody of any importance, the vast majority of the United States is exactly like them and thinks exactly like them, and it's not the case, and the recent elections only prove it, with nearly 50% split. We are a deeply, deeply divided country, more divided than any other country by our vast land masses, by our vast diversity in populace, by our vast differences in history. Chinese people, pretty unified because they're all Chinese. Japanese people, very unified because they're all Japanese. Australians, a little divided. Aboriginal Australians and non native Australians, pretty divided. A little bit there, but um, certainly a lot of other countries are very divided too. And so the United States, I guess, is just kind of like that. But we may very well in the United States be divided amongst hundreds of different lines of division, where in Iraq it may just be Sunni and Shiites, or if that's even the right two groups. It might be easier to even split in something like that. So to get back to Yandere Dev, he's just whining. I'm starting to lose my interest in following him a little bit, but I know he's never gonna release the game. That's not even a question. It's just not gonna happen, because he can't work with other people. This is another example of how he just doesn't know how to deal with people at all. I screwed up there a little bit. That's alright though. I'm supposed to be playing warrior cards and not winning. But really he's more than he's just whining, he's also just creating drama. And so he's sliding into more and more just being a troll causing drama than anything else. See, I said I wasn't gonna rant, and here I am ranting. I really couldn't avoid it on that one. Tried, but there's. Let's see, and so I imagine I'll stop following him or stop talking about him. There's now that he's gotten his response, which allegedly he wanted, and that was it. Hopefully he'll now decide to just focus on actually programming the game and see if that works. We need to play this. Well played. Now, here's the question should I ask myself. Do I take the victory, or do I try to play one more card? Let's just take the victory. So, moving on before I get to my other little bit of a rant, let's cover the central things. I could probably avoid a rant here too, but I don't. Timing is not going to line up very well for that. I need to play 10 more warrior class cards. Judge Dredd and other 2000 AD characters are now available to license, and I have now as in question mark because Judge Dredd, the Sylvester Stallone movie, came out many years ago. The recent Judge Dredd movie came out just a few years ago. There was a Judge Dredd video game that came out many years ago. So I don't know what specific period the Judge Dredd and the other characters from that universe, the 2000 AD comic series, which is a UK-based comic that's very popular in the UK and Europe, not as popular in America. They may not have very good publishing deals since I think DC owns the publishing companies in the United States somehow. That should be illegal, but it seems to still have happened. I'd like to see a Judge Dredd game. It would be as good as a Gears of War game, depending on how you decide to go about it. The TV remake is is partially going to be a problem. Let's see. What does this do? It heals him for 4. So we'll do that. And then we'll do that.
Job's done.
I don't really know any of the other 2000 AD characters, so I can't really say anything about that. I would also say that Judge Dredd in the comics is designed to be provocatively, they're using that word again, silent and never speaks, never takes off his helmet, violent, very violent. That's the gag. It's not really a satire of what the world is going to come. It's a heavy metal style. This is extreme, even beyond that. But we could see like a mature rated Judge Dredd game. I felt like the Mad Max game, which I'll eventually get around to covering. It's on my short list in particular. I think the Mad Max game in a similar way, probably not the best way to turn a Mad Max movie into a game, being just kind of open world RPG, kind of like, well, no, not Rust. What was the name of that game? Were there 2 games named Rust? There's a small independent game called Rust, and then there's a something else called Rust. Interesting. Let's go ahead and see if that worked. Didn't figure it out. We'll go ahead. We'll go ahead and kill this guy.
Job's done.
Yeah, so a mature rated shooter Judge Dredd with some story in it. It really would need some story. I think that's the only thing that's gonna really work to help the let's see, 2 uses.
Job's done.
Yeah, you do want to put as much characterization there as possible, but it being open to license is a weird statement. It comes back and says like we're not, like they at some point said they weren't willing to license, and kind of everything is open to being licensed, is it not? Like, who specifically would decide that they didn't want to license their product and make money for doing no work? Very strange. Costume Quest is coming in the form of a cartoon to Amazon Prime, ? It says, the article said Amazon, but I assume this is Amazon Prime. That's strange in a weird way. It's from the Adventure Time creators. So Adventure Time is very much beloved Cartoon Network cartoons. So there's some interest there, certainly. But I'm rather confused as to like why now for Costume Quest. It's not like that is a massively well-known video game that really sold rather well. Now, one way you might approach that though is Costume Quest is made by Double Fine. Double Fine just got $8 million of investment from Starbeast Studios to release Psychonauts 2. Maybe Double Fine, in trying to make Psychonauts 2 and run Fig, which they're also doing, is running low on cash. This is just speculation on my part. I have no evidence. But maybe they were running low on cash a few months ago, a year ago. And so they decided we are going to sell, license our product, just like Judge Dredd, license it out to Amazon or whoever, and get some quick cash from that. That would make a little bit of sense. It's the only thing that makes sense. I assume Costume Quest is going to come out on Amazon Prime around Halloween next year. So that too is a factor. Let's see. I can do 2 of these. But I'm going to lose, so we'll do this, 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 and then which one. But I really have to think back at whether I liked the story of Costume Quest. I kind of liked it, but it had no voice acting, and it really fell apart for a kid's game to have no voice acting, and for me to have to sit there and read the whole thing. The story's not really that interesting, and the gameplay mechanic is pretty dumb with the RPG elements. So, in name only, the cartoon will probably not be anything close to what it was. And I need to play 3 more things, and that should wrap me up. And the last thing, it kind of has to be a little bit of a rant, or I'm just going to go quiet. I guess I could say, I just saw that Hideko Kojima is not going to one of the appointments he had set up because of a death in his family, so more will probably come out about that, maybe. That was tweeted from his own studio, so who knows if it is a extremely close relative or an extremely rare relative. I seriously doubt that he would lie about it, so I'm not even gonna assume that that's something you do to your boss when you don't care about your job. Is you have my aunt died, my mother died. Have your mother die 5 times that year, just because you don't want to go to work. And that's why a lot of jobs also specifically limit how close the relative has to be if you're going to get a day off. But I worked a job, not to get too into it, but that heavily manipulated and overscheduled and forced overtime like crazy. And they made all these rules and regulations about how you could get a day off, or even like sick leave, and like you had no sick leave at all. You would have had to schedule being sick. You would have had to know it. And in all honesty, I stupidly listened and followed the rules, and it was in all honesty, I should have not given a damn about any of it. I should have called in sick all the time. I should have just been like, I do not care one bit about your over controlling setup. The rules were so ridiculous, even on the face of them, just at first glance, that I should have spat in the face of them, literally. And frankly, I never really had that teenage experience that I think everybody should have, where they work at a job one summer and they just totally blow it. They show up late, they call in sick, they just do every single wrong thing as an employee you can do. I never really had that, and I kind of missed it. I didn't have that because a lot of lessons could have been learned from that, certainly, but also just getting it out of my system would have been fun. And instead, all the jobs I ever took, I took way too seriously, and should have quit most of them. Should have quit most of them on the first within the first month. But that's a different rant. I wanted to talk about the Night Attack broadcast shout out that I arranged. It's not been but maybe a week, and it really only got me a little bump. It hasn't drastically affected anything, but my watch time and the duration of my watch time is higher. So it certainly has helped, and I'm very happy with what they said and what they did. They did their best. But as I was watching the video for the first day, it seemed like on YouTube, Night Attack only got like 100 views. So they're not even like, maybe it's a slow delay, and or maybe a lot of people watch it from the I'm gonna play this and then this and then this. Or maybe a lot of people just listen to it via RSS. That's what I do. Now, Night Attack also was part of Tech TV, and they got kicked off and fired. And so maybe they lost a lot of viewers there. Maybe it was never as big of a followership as I thought. They certainly play up like they have this Diamond Club, and that people are watching it all together. But maybe the Diamond Club really is just a couple thousand people at most, because I didn't see a Reddit hug happen here, where videos started to getting 100, 200, 300,000 extra views. Not really seeing any of that. Haven't paid a ton of attention, so maybe it did happen. I have seen the numbers for Honey Pop go up, and in this experiment, if it comes down to it, should I shill myself more, or should I just cover sex games all the time? I think my answer would be I should probably cover sex games all the time. Unfortunately, I'm really not prepared to do that. It's too much work, and most of the games aren't worth covering at all because of all the censorship that I'd have to do to them. So yeah, I've gotten a little bit of a bump, but not as much as I'd like. Maybe it'll be a slow climb, and it was helpful. So I still really can't complain, but things didn't explode. Now, how much of that is me and how much of that is Night Attack? Maybe there just weren't a lot of people watching that one episode or haven't watched that one episode yet. I don't know. But I probably need to take a lot of it on myself too. I think it's completely fair to say my channel is niche. It's completely fair to say maybe 250 people did look at my videos and left after a minute because they didn't like my voice, or they didn't like the fact that I don't do face cam, or that they didn't like what I was saying after a few minutes. They found me boring, or they didn't like the games I was covering right now. Right now, the games I'm covering isn't the greatest selection of games, definitely. So, how can I knock down all of those possibilities to what is the one major factor? I really can't. But I will do more research about it. I can specifically go look at sources from videos, where people found my videos, and see how many of that came from Night Attack. And I should do that. I should have done that already. And I'm still very happy with Night Attack. And if anybody is here from the Diamond Club or from Night Attack, thank you for being here. Thank you for staying here. Thank you for watching. I'm not unhappy to have new viewers. It's just I kind of felt like it was going to be bigger. I guess I set my hopes too high. Maybe it will be bigger later. This has only been a week. Maybe next week it explodes. Maybe the week after that it explodes. That would be nice too. Anyways, we finally, on episode 4 or 5, I've lost count, gotten all the quests done. And we could do an arena run, but I'm out of things to talk about. I think I've done a good job of not ranting too much about the night attack. There's really not much I can rant about. I need to do more research. I've got a ton of research and paperwork I need to do for my channel anyways, even though I'd prefer to be playing Darksiders. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.